this training video, we're going to take a look at how to take this logo here and place it on an irregular shaped object. When it comes to laser engraving, one of the harder things to do is to actually place a logo and get it in the proper position on an item where you don't have an actual location that's known. For example, the product that we're going to be using here is the top of a barrel, and it's basically round, which forces us not to be able to push it up against the top left-hand corner. And we're going to show you how to do this. It's quite easy to do with the Trotec system. So let's get started. You can see that I've got my image on the screen here. My page size is 3.3. I want to make my logo size 3 1/4. So I made my page size a little bit bigger. Just as a rule of thumb for Corel Draw, Corel will not print within 5 thou of the edge of a page. So normally what we do is we make the page a little bit bigger than the actual logo or text object itself. So I've done my object here. Everything is basically RGB, and I'm going to send this over to the job. I don't want to send this over as a 12 by 24 or 17 by 29 as we would have a full bed design. I want to send over a small design because I'm going to use the red dot pointer on the laser head to be able to locate this image. It's a lot easier to do this when I've got a very small image without any border on it. First of all, I'm going to go File, Print. I'm going to go into the preference setting. I'm going to make this 3.3 by 3.3 because that's the size of my page. And I'm going to come into the presets, and I'm going to change this around for, skip this here, and we're going to put this on engrave. And I want 100 power, 80 speed, no air assist, 1 pass. I'm not going to move the head up and down. I'm going to say OK. Run at 500 dpi, that's going to be pretty good in terms of quality. Say OK. I have the print preview opened. That's easily opened or closed by clicking on this triangle here. And again, you can see that my image is fitting properly on the page. Now all I need to do is go File, Print. Now we can send our job to Job Control. You can see I still have my laser head right here on the bottom corner. I'm going to take my image, I'm going to drag it out. You'll notice that it snaps to the laser head. I could put it in the corner if I want. I'm going to snap it to the middle. I'm going to click on the WYSIWAG on button here, and that allows me to actually see the image. I can zoom in if I want, and you can see the image right here. So you can see that this is my laser head on the bed over top of the actual barrel itself. The image is based right in the middle, and again I can move this out. If I want, I can actually come up and I can go to plate and I can say add a marker to the actual laser itself. And again, if I move this away and I move the laser head, you notice I get a little red mark here. If I move that red mark, then basically that means that now I have a secondary home location set up. This allows me to use this as my secondary home. You notice that the image snaps to that piece. And off I go. I also do have an X and Y value, so I can type in the X and Y. I can measure from the middle, so I can actually move that to a certain location on the bed if I had to go to if I knew the actual X and Y area or location. This X and Y at the bottom below it is the actual location of the laser head. Sometimes when we have to laser engrave a logo on a product, that product is what we call an irregular shaped product. What this basically means is that we can't put the product that we're laser engraving on up into the top left-hand corner for easy location of the item that we want to laser engrave. This makes it a lot harder for us to locate the actual logo that we want to locate and engrave on the product that we want to laser. With the Trotec laser, this is actually quite easy to do if we follow a couple steps. You can see here I'm going to do this logo and I'm going to place it on a plaque. The first thing I want to do is make sure that my page size, which is located up at the top here, corresponds to the size of my logo. I don't want the page size to be exactly the size of the logo. If you can see here, my logo size is located right here, and if I unselect, you'll see my page is a little bit bigger than the actual logo. This is important to remember because in Corel Draw, we can't actually laser engrave right to the edge of the page. We need to be 5 thou in from the edge on all 4 sides. Therefore, it's a good idea when you're making a setup like this that we make our page size a little bit bigger than the logo that we're working with. Once we've got the logo created, all we need to do now is go File Print, which is Control P, or is File Print. I'm going to select the Trotec printer driver. I'm going to go to Preferences. I'm going to change my page size to 3.3 by 2.3, which is the size of my page. If I go in, I'm going to preset my power and speeds here. 100 power, 80 speed, 500 PPI. I don't have a preset in the material database for this material, but that's fine. I'm just going to use the standard one. Say OK. 500 DPI is my printing resolution. For doing wood engraving, which is what I'm going to do here, that's quite sufficient. I'm going to click the OK button here, and I'm going to go print. Now you notice here, you can actually see the logo positioned on the page. A lot of people don't realize that this print preview is active on all versions of Corel, and to activate it, just click this little chevron here, and basically if you click it again, it expands out. This is a great way of making sure that the product that you're working with is going to fit on the page that you want to send over. Once you've done, you make sure everything's all right here, you're going to go File Print. Now if we take a look at the Trotec Job Control software, you'll notice that you'll see the actual page layout on the screen, and you'll see a crosshair at the top. This actually is an indicator of the actual laser head itself, and if we look on the bed, you'll notice that you can see the red dot pointer. That basically is this little space here in between the crosshairs here. My job is over here on the right. I can select this, and I'm going to drag out onto the page. But first I want to locate the actual laser pointer to the location of where I want to engrave the logo on my product, which in this case is a plaque. I'm going to go over and I'm going to move the head. See it moving on the screen. I'm going to bring it down over top of the actual piece. And you notice that I've got a piece of masking tape on here, and I've got a black dot on there, which indicates my center point of my logo where I want it to go. I move the head so the red dot pointer is on top of that blue dot. Now you notice you can see the laser head on the screen, so actually the plaque is behind this. Can't see it on here, but that's where the plaque is laying right there on the bed. Now you can do a couple things here. I can bring the logo back over and I can just snap it right to the logo, right to the laser head, sorry, and basically all you need to do now, you'll notice it snaps right to the middle. I could do it to the corner if I want. or in this case, I want to go to the middle. What you can also do if you want, which we'll show you later on, is a big advantage. If I remove the job from the screen here, I can actually press the F8 button, and if I move the head out of the way, you'll notice that I have an actual locator pin right here, which is basically a secondary home position. So now what I can do is I can actually take this job, snap it out, and it will snap to the marker on the actual page itself. This makes it great if I want to go out and put a couple of different home locations on a product, so I can dump in a couple of logos, and we'll go through that in the next part of this video. So basically now I've actually got my logo positioned on the plaque where I want it to show up. You'll notice that the marker here relates to the black dot that's on my masking tape on my plaque. Sometimes we may want to outline the job just to see exactly where it's going to be located on the actual product that we're laser engraving. This is easy to do in the Trotec driver, and we can do this by right-clicking on the logo, going to Outline Jobs, and you'll notice that the actual product is being outlined on the actual job. This makes it quite handy for us to see exactly where the job's going to go. Gives us kind of a visual cue just as a secondary test to make sure that the image that we're working with is going to fit on the product that we want to laser engrave. Again, this is a very important feature to have, because sometimes what people will do is they'll actually send over a job with minimal power, and they'll look through the glass and look at the red dot pointer and make sure that it's locating where they want to do it. But this one actually is easy. It's right in the actual menu and allows us to quickly get a positional location with the outline of the image that we're working with. To give yourself even more chance of getting successful laser engraved image in the location on the actual product, one technique that we use sometimes is actually lay a transfer mask down on top of the actual product that we're going to laser engrave, and then what we do is we just do a light etching on top of that paper. This makes it easy for us to see exactly where we're going to laser engrave the image on the actual product that we're working with. This makes sure that we don't make a boo-boo. The last thing we want to do is have a sort of one product, one chance, and therefore we don't want to make a mistake. This is why it's very imperative that we charge properly when we're doing these types of jobs for people. If you're doing 1,000 of them, it's not such a big deal, because once you get the first one set up, you can make a jig out of it. But when you're only doing one, it certainly takes a lot longer to do, and therefore there should be a setup charge associated with the cost to the customer. So all I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to send the job over to the laser machine with very minimal power. So instead of my 80 speed, I'm going to go to 100 power, or 100 speed, and I'm going to drop this down to about 30 power. And this will basically go into the actual masking, but it won't actually go all the way through. I'm going to send the job over to the laser machine. And you'll notice that you can see on the actual paper mask, you can actually see the logo being engraved, but I'm actually not going through into the wood. This allows me now to have a fairly good looking image that I can see, but I'm actually not affecting the wood underneath. You can see that my logo is perfectly centered inside my black dot. So you can see on the actual plaque that the logo is perfectly positioned in the exact location that I want it to go. And the nice thing is I haven't actually destroyed the plaque itself by doing the test cut. Now what you could do if you really wanted to do this, you could actually send over a logo with a lower resolution, say 125 instead of 500, and then the job will engrave a lot quicker in terms of our test cut. This is quite easy to do in the Trotec driver, and because I have the marker on my plate, it's not a big deal for me to drag in the logo on top of the old one and be able to laser engrave the lower resolution on the transfer mask, then get rid of the low resolution and bring the high resolution back onto the page, and then do the actual final image on the plaque. laser pointer to locate the two locations that are marked on the box by the black dots. You could do this in CorelDRAW by laying this out as one-page layout, but for this tutorial, we'll take a look at how we use the laser head to locate both locations, set up two separate home locations, one for each logo. This shows us the strength of the Trotec laser software and laser machine. Using this type of method for locating images on the products that we want to laser engrave can be advantageous when we actually have to put more than one logo or position text or other items on the product that we're laser engraving, and we actually need two locations or three locations or four and so forth. In this example, I'm going to use two different logos and I'm going to put them on the same wine box. And I'm going to use the same method I used previously to locate these logos. You notice I've got two pages created here. The first page is the original logo we worked with. The second page is the second logo we're going to work with. You'll also notice that I've got different page sizes for each logo. You can do this in CorelDRAW. It's quite easy. When you go to Layout and you go to Page Setup, you can actually say Apply Size to Current Page Only. So in this case, I've got 3.3 by 2.3, and if I go to the other page, you notice I've got 3.3 by 3.3, and if I go to the setup, you'll notice here 3.3 by 3.3. So again, I can send both these jobs over to the laser machine, and we can do the same thing that we did before. Now the only problem with the print driver is the fact that it can only send over one page size to the laser machine. In this case here, I could send over both the same size. It wouldn't be too big of a deal, but just for example's sake, I wanted to send over the two different page sizes. So I need to send the jobs over as two separate jobs. That's quite easy to do. Just going to go File, Print, or Control P. I'm going to say the current page, Preferences, 3.3 by 2.3. I'm going to go File, Print. Just as a note, if I had sent over both pages, I could have done it as 3.3 by 3.3, and that would have been all right. And the nice thing about that is it would have sent both pages. I would have been able to, and both jobs would have been over on the same print job. But in this case, it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to go to page 2. I'm going to go File, Print. I'm going to go to Preferences. You notice on the print preview that my image isn't fitting on the page because this page is a little bit bigger. So I'm going to work with 3.3. And you notice now with the print preview that my job looks great on the page. I'm going to go File, Print. And if I go over to Job Control, I have both logos now in the print queue. Now you notice on my box, my wine box I'm working with, I've actually got some masking on there, which sort of allows me to do a test print if I want, but it also allows me in this case to mark out the locations that I want to put the two logos in. You can see on the box here that I've got two marks, one right here and one here. I'm going to put both logos right there. First I've got to find the marks. That's quite easy to do as we did before. Move the head over and bring it down. Now I'm right over top of the first mark. Now in this case here, as I did before, I'm going to press the F8 key, which actually is at marker to the laser, which is F8. And now what I can do now is I can actually move this down to the second location. And now I've got my second location, and again I can press F8 again. Pressing F8 is easy because now I actually have two markers now for where I'm going to put the actual logo. So now I can slide my head out of the way and I can bring my two logos in for the job. So here's my first logo. I'm going to bring that in. It's going to snap up to the first marker, and then I'm going to grab my second one and I'm going to drag it in. It's going to snap up to the second one. So you can actually see I've got both logos on the actual box now in the perfect locations. And again, if I want, I can actually right click on this and do an outline on the actual job. So I can get a quick visual location just to see, to make sure that actually the logo is in the proper position that I want it to be in. Now you notice that it only did the one logo because I only had the one logo selected on the screen. So that allows me, if I want to just test the location of the one, I can. Or if I want, I can select both logos and then right click and then say outline jobs. And now to outline both jobs. So the Trotec Job Control actually has the ability to actually laser engrave one logo at a time or all the logos at a time. Just depends on how we select them. So you can see now I'm progressing down to the second logo and it's outlining that logo. So this makes it very easy for me to locate my product on my logos on the product that I want to work with. Now that I'm happy with the job, I can basically go ahead and run it. In this case, I would run with the mask on because I don't want to have any staining on my edges, because this is raw wood and I don't want to sand it. I just basically want to etch through the actual mask, and I don't want any staining to happen on outside of my laser engraved logo on the actual wine box itself. As you can see, this is an excellent way of being able to place logos on objects where we actually don't have an actual location that we can find very easily. The nice thing about Job Control now is I can actually save this setup too if I want. So I can come up to File, and I can go Save, and I can call this Wine Box. And if we close this down, and we can come back in 3 years down the road, go File Open, go back to my wine box, and there's my job already set up again. So the nice thing about this is that the only way you could typically have done this in the old days would be to do this on an actual in Corel, locate everything, and then save the job in Corel. With Trotec, with the Job Control software, I actually don't have to actually have that limitation. I can actually save the job file, which I've used the laser to do my locating of the actual locations. I can, if I even want to, if I don't want to save the actual logos of the job, I can say remove this job, remove this job. And because I've got my markers on the job here, I can actually save that job too. So if I come Save As, and we call this Wine Box 1, and I close this job down, and I open up the Wine Box 1 job, you notice that the markers are here. Then I can grab my logos and I can bring them out and say I want that logo to be there, and I want this logo to be here, and you notice it'll snap right to the actual markers I've got on the job. So again, if you're doing this as a jig layout, or you've got some special locations for certain products, again, you may want to just save the actual location file as opposed to having the jobs embedded with the job. So you can do it either way. Or again, if you want, you can open up the job and you can again just remove these so that you can bring in different logos. So very, very powerful software, very easy to do, gives you lots of ability to do some things that are quite hard to do if you don't have this ability. The final part of this discussion, we're going to take a look at why we want to send over the plate size as the logo size. This is very easy to see. If I come in here and let's say, for example, I decide I want to make this 24 by 12, because maybe that's the standard size I'm working with all the time. So let's get rid of this job here, and I want to locate this job, and let's assume that it's right there where it's supposed to be. I'm going to go File Print, and in this case, my page size now is going to be 12 by 12, or it's going to be 24 by 12. And you notice here, here's my logo here. I go File, Print, and I send that job over to the job control software. So the problem with that job now is that if I bring this job over, you see I've got this big plate size now on here, and it makes it a lot harder for me to locate my job. In this case, I can't even get the logo into the middle here because I've got this is actually this gray here. This is basically my 12 by 24 page size I've sent over. So again, this page size is way too big and doesn't allow me to put in a job properly so I can locate it. And if I want to do two logos, I can't get two 12 by 24s on here because in this case here my bed size is 17 by 29 inches. So I can't even get away with putting two logos on here. So if you wanted to work with two logos, then basically you want to work with page size that's the size of the actual, well, a little bit bigger than the size of the logo that you're working with. And typically what I typically do is I always work, when I send over logos like this, I don't send them over as 12 by 24. I always send them over just a little bit bigger than the actual logo itself. This gives me a lot more flexibility when I want to do a location on the page where I want to be able to use the red dot pointer to locate. If I'm working with a 5 by 7 and say a 6 by 8 plaque, well then I'm probably going to send over a 6 by 8 page size because I'm going to do all my layout in CorelDRAW and then send it over. Or if I'm working with a 12 by 24 sheet of material and I want to generate all my logos and cut lines and everything in Corel, and I want to do that there. But for this type of an operation, it's better to send over the job page size so that it reflects the logo size, so it's easier to find and position your logo.